My interest in writing was a response to this. That this I want to be the opposite of an engineer. You know, I want to be the opposite of a doctor, and so I wanted to make movies, and I wanted to do anything but this. So I thought, and it's a bit like playing football, you know. It's a popular sport because all you need is legs and a reasonable ball, you know. It need not be round also, you know. So similarly for writing, you want to make movies, you want to write a screenplay, you begin by writing something and you just have a pen and a paper and you know a language. So you start and then it strikes you that maybe it's not bad, and later you realize it was all probably very bad, you know. But there is once you begin to tell a story, you begin to realize that people are interested. It's amazing, you know.
What made me do it was that experience of reading beyond my age as a young person and then rereading those books as an adult. And like everybody, at a certain point you stumble into writing, and I had a large number of children and a very small income, and I was actually amazingly supporting us with journalism, writing non-fiction, editing, and I was very lucky that the publisher that I was actually working for as an editor and as a commercial writer of non-fiction, because I just completely lost heart and been demoralised by my early reading experiences, said, look, I think you should be writing fiction. Give me a chapter and a synopsis and I will give you a contract. So I was really lucky. That was a really unusual way to come into it, because I had, by this stage, a lot of my life had unfolded in other directions, and she just called me into her office and said, look, I've been reading you and following your non-fiction and your journalism, and this is what I want from you. So possibly I don't think that would happen now. That was in the early 90s, so about 20 years ago. And yeah, so it was a great start and set me off.
But for a 15-year-old, troubled 15-year-old, to find a pawn rag hidden on a hill next to his house is a sign from someone up there or someone down here that there is someone watching over you. But what clinched it for me was in the Mayfair magazine there was an article and there was an interview with Mr. Gordon Matthew Sumner, also known as Sting. And I read that, and it told me one thing that made me feel that things weren't so bad. It told me that there were 5 Police albums out there in the world that I hadn't heard. And so I promptly went to the Wanganui Library and I found on catalogue all 5 of them were there. But what happened was, Don't Stand So Close to Me had a lyric, that book by Nabokov. So what book by Nabokov? I read Lolita. And for a 15-year-old raised on Stephen King and Agatha Christie, that is mind expanding. And then I read Synchronicity, Carl Jung's theory, which inspired the album, The Sheltering Sky by Paul Bowles, which Sting used to like. He was a bit of a pretentious guy for punk rocker, and he'd drop all these lyrics. And what happened in those 3 years was I'd listen to jazz because the great drummer of the Police, Stuart Copeland, would mention it in an interview. I listened to Pink Floyd because Andy Summers said his guitar technique came from there. And so in those 5 years, I discovered depression and solitude and rock and roll and literature and sadness, which are all the things you really need as a writer.